and the current Attorney General, Greg Abbott. Mr. Abbott, thanks for coming on Meet the Press.
My honor. Great to be with you. Thanks.
All right, let's start with the lawsuit. Standing requires you to show harm. Now, you argue the president's actions are going to inspire a fresh wave of illegal immigration, that's the harm you're going to show. But we've seen other attempts at this before where courts have thrown out lawsuits like this because you can't quantify the harm. Are you going to quantify the harm?
First, this is growing much the same way that the lawsuit concerning Obamacare grew from 13 to 26 or 27 states. As to the standing issue, understand this. Texas has been at the epicenter of the 2012 DACA. You all saw more than 1,000 people crossing our border each and every day. Texas has come out of pocket to the tune of more than $100 million in law enforcement, and education, and health care because of what has happened. And understand this, the president's agencies' memos themselves have indicated that there will be more problems like this resulting from the next presidential order, or the most recent presidential order.
But many of those and the children they came across in that wave, and I understand there's a lot of people that say that wave was started, and some people believe it was inspired by the DACA order on children that were brought here by parents illegally. But a lot of those folks were deported. Most of those folks were deported.
Well, as we speak right now, some of those children are in Texas schools. Some of the people who came here across the border are accessing.
But most of them were deported, right? Fair enough?
I don't know the raw number.
Okay.
All I do know is the absolute fact, and that is Texas has incurred taxpayer dollars out of pocket as a result of the prior executive order. It's also been stated by members of the Obama administration that this new executive order will lead to the same results.
Now, when we talk about harm, I want to get into this financial issue here, because you talk about the issue of social services, how much money you have to spend to deal with these undocumented folks. But illegal immigrants that are working in Texas do participate in the economy. There have been some estimates that if you deported everybody who was in Texas illegally, it would actually be it would create an economic recession for the state of Texas.
Well,
so how do you separate those two facts?
Because we're not suing for that economic harm. It's the way that Texas has been impacted that gives us standing. What we're suing for is actually the greater harm, and that is harm to the Constitution by empowering the President of the United States to enact legislation on his own without going through Congress.
I want to play for you a clip that you've heard from a previous governor of Texas and what he has said about immigration. Here it is.
I want to remind people that family values do not stop at the Rio Grande River. People are coming to our country to do jobs that Americans won't do to be able to feed their families. And I think there's a humane way to recognize that, at the same time protect our borders, and at the same way to make sure that we don't disadvantage those who have stood in line for years to become a legal citizen.
Do you agree with that statement?
Well, in a way, I understand this even more powerfully. Because my wife is going to be the first Hispanic First Lady in the history of Texas. And Texas has had a long tradition of uniting the Hispanic culture with Texas values. But remember this, there's a reason why people come from across the world to the United States, and that is because of the power of what the Constitution has enabled this country to be. It's the Constitution itself that is under assault by the President of the United States by this executive order. Chuck, what we're doing is, this issue in this lawsuit is not about immigration. The issue in this lawsuit is about abuse of executive power, and if this abuse is not stopped, it will erode the Constitution that has attracted so many people to this country for generations.
Let me ask a basic question, though. Illegal immigration, good or bad for the state of Texas? Bottom line.
Legal immigration is great for the United States of America. Any illegal activity is not good anywhere.
And yet it's been good for the Texas economy, right?
Legal immigration has been great for America. And if bringing more immigrants here is the appropriate thing to do, then what Congress needs to do and what the President needs to do is to figure out a way to improve our immigration system. In fact, Americans are tired of both Congress and the President failing to act. It is time for Washington, D.C. to stop talking about this and take action, and that begins with securing our border.
And let me ask you that on securing the border. Define that. Can you give me a metric that says border secure?
Sure. I've been involved in these border surge operations where we see people crossing the border. Securing the border means ensuring that you don't have people who are crossing the border illegally. And that is through modern technology, through the technology that we are deploying right now. You can have monitors and cameras and see whether or not people are crossing the border. You want to see that grow to 0 would be the perfect metric. Congress has the power.
Is that realistic?
Congress has the power and the resources to decide whether or not that metric will be 0 or 10% or 20%.
Come 2016, you may be a popular figure inside the Republican Party. Rick Perry, Ted Cruz, 2 Texas officials running for president. Rand Paul, born in Texas. Jeb Bush, his son, is serving in Texas. Do you have a favorite?
I will be strongly supportive of the Republican nominee to be the next president of the United States.
You are staying out of the primary totally?
I'm staying out of the primary.
All right. Greg Abbott, we'll be watching you when you're governor of Texas. Thanks for coming on Meet the Press.
Thank you, Chuck.
You got it.